Morning, everybody. Want to talk really about the impact of mobile explosion on AdWords campaigns. I'm hoping by the end of this session you'll at least take something away to go and implement on your mobile campaigns. It's kind of the biggest change probably that we've seen since the internet was invented. So the agenda, I'm going to look through how mobile's changing the world, how you can take advantage of this change, using display campaigns to penetrate mobile, and what are the key challenges that are presented from looking at mobile. The first one, we're going to look at how mobile's changing the world. I got my first phone after I got married, even though I look quite young. And this was it, 1999. Anyone remember what movie this was from? Matrix, yeah. So this, I was pretty impressed with this. It was, you could press the button, it would flip down, do all kinds of things. And this was the first phone. And like I said, this was after I got married, and I remembered all my friends' phone numbers, and to think where we are now and how it's changed. We really changed the way we live with mobile. So you can just think about your own behaviour. And I think one of the things about today is really to try and get across that we're all using our phones kind of subconsciously, not really thinking about what we're doing, trying to get you to think about, well, how are you using your phone? How could your customers be using their phone to find your product or service? We feel connected. We check our phones 150 times a day. We express ourselves through it. So 4 out of 10 people are reposting videos or images, chat groups or Facebook or whatever it is. And we spend more time on our devices than we do sleeping. So just think about that kind of consumption that's happening. Your mobile phone is potentially your best friend. You sleep with it, eat with it, travel with it. Some of you may use it on the toilet. I won't tell you if I do or not. I want to go through really top 5 mobile myths. The first one is most people are just watching TV. And the whole nation in front of the TV, when they get home, they're watching television, and they're not really using their mobile phone. The next one is that most people who have mobile access are only the young. Only the very young are really using their phones a lot. And those that are using it just for social entertainment. So Candy Crush and Facebook. I've got one customer here who plays a lot of Candy Crush. Mobile sites really can't be functioning enough. Well, yeah, great. Even if people are using the mobile site, they're not going to be able to do much on their mobile phone. The screen's too small. They're not going to be able to find the information that they want. And with mobile, we're not going to be able to measure it properly. Now, if you think about where we've come from with digital campaigns, we've come from an era of, well, if I spend X, I'm going to get this many leads. This is how much each lead costs me. And so if we can't measure it, then we shouldn't run it because it's digital. And that's kind of the mindset that a lot of people have. So let's look at the first myth, which is, isn't the UK the home of TV? But we're watching TV in a different way. YouTube receives 45% of traffic from mobile devices. 78% of the UK internet population watch YouTube videos every day. I mean, that's staggering to think how many people are watching a YouTube video at some point. And that could be on the TV now, with a lot of people having YouTube on their TVs, with their smart TVs. It could be on their phone, laptop, tablet. It's massive. And then if you think about this as the kind of the minutes being spent. So you got on TVs, 113 minutes being spent on TV, but we're spending 147 minutes on our smartphones. 108 minutes on PCs and tablets, 50 minutes. And if you think about the PCs in there, you're bringing in time at work. So those other periods are generally time outside of work. That's a lot of minutes being added up in the day. And you've got to understand that people are multitasking. So you can see here that PCs dominate during working hours, tablets are popular at night, and mobiles are popular in the morning. I've seen some other charts since then which have got mobiles more popular than tablet now in the evening. I think this chart might even be outdated. But people are using their phones whilst they're watching TV with their tablet. And you've got to really think about it. And if you think about your own behaviour, you'll realise that all of a sudden we're connected with multiple devices at any one time. Quite easily just be sitting at home, see something on TV, go to the URL, have a look at the site, get on your laptop, which is next to you, to find out a bit more detail and take an action. And you're jumping around on different devices. In the morning, you could be searching on your mobile phone and then going home and converting later on at night. And we'll talk a bit more about that in detail as we go through this. So myth 2 is that it's mainly the young who use their mobile phones. So 74% of UK consumers have a smartphone, and it's going to be 90% by 2020. I mean, there's another stat around actually connected devices. There's 5 billion connected devices worldwide at the moment, and by 2020 it'll be 20 billion. That's worldwide, and that's different connected devices. So we're talking about wearable tech as well as smartphones. So you can see the penetration is huge, and you get these landmarks like Christmas, which is always a big one, where everyone starts getting new phones. It kind of changes the way people are behaving. Myth 3 is that it's just for entertainment. So the latest study shows that three quarters of searches on mobile happen when a desktop or laptop is present. So most of the time when someone's searching on their mobile, they've got another device. And even if that's, and we're starting to see it really in our office environment as well now. You might be looking at something, you'll see how does that look on a mobile phone, and switching behind devices in there. And there's a bit more kind of, allowance of people being able to switch across devices than before, perhaps in the workplace, where your mobile phone gets put away and you don't use it until later on. And whereas now it's a bit more accepted that people can use it all the time. And 4 in 10 people search more on a mobile device than any other, so most of their searches are happening on mobile. So what are we doing on our phones? We're comparing products in store and online, paying bills, sending money, searching for virtually everything, finding directions if we need to go somewhere, finding directions to somewhere we didn't know we wanted to go, so finding a new restaurant maybe in the local area, staying connected to our friends in a completely different way than we used to before, and asking for advice from everyone, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's your friend circle, or whether it's Google. You're asking for advice and help all the time, and people are getting used to it. As soon as you have a question in your mind, your first port of call is to go to your best friend and find that information. And all of this means that really search is changing. So search behavior is strange, but always true. So what do we mean by that? Well, you'd be very surprised at some of the things that we see people search for. And you think people search for just standard stuff, but they search for all kinds of weird and wonderful things. And it's true. We can't do anything about it. It's strange, but it's true. What we're starting to see is that database of intention, so what people are searching for, that's changing now. It's changing all the time. We're seeing that. So what is it becoming? It's becoming more complex, more conversational, and more in the moment. So if you think again about your own behavior, if you're with somebody and you're talking to someone about a product or service or somewhere to go, it's quite like that person will take their mobile phone out and start searching for it in that moment and saying, oh, is that it? Is that the page? Oh, and they'll take the phone off you and say, oh, no, it was this one, have a look at this. Or say, oh, give me your phone, I'll show it to you. And that's happening all the time. And it's becoming more in the moment. Like, so as soon as you want something, you're going to go to your mobile phone and try and get that information. And what we're seeing from that is that the how-to phrases are growing. So searches for how-to have grown threefold in the last 3 years. So if it's becoming more conversational, people are going to search for things like how-to or how do I do this. Here are just some examples of what people are searching for in different areas. So again, strange but true. So in the UK, the most popular how-to phrase is how to make pancakes. In India, it's how to kiss. In the Bahamas, how to get dimples. In Botswana, how to make a baby boy. And Cambodia, rather worryingly, is how to hack a Wi-Fi password. So it's becoming more conversational, and that's not just on how we're typing, that's also what we're saying. So voice searches have doubled in the past year. Now, probably a lot of us in this room might find it difficult to pick up the phone and go, hello, Google, and try and figure out, whatever they want to do, and they'd rather type it and be quite secretive. But there'll be a whole generation coming through that will find it really easy to just pick up their phone and ask something and see what the answer is, especially when the data coming back is going to be accurate for them. So the fourth myth is mobile sites can't be functional. Well, 40% of UK online sales take place on a smartphone or tablet already. And you'll see that from some of the big retailers who kind of have led that and have really pushed out their mobile experience for people to be able to make purchases and take action. And so that number's only going to grow. Fifth myth was mobile can't be measured. Well, magazines don't have shopping buttons, remote controls don't either. At the very least, we can track something. Whether or not it's the final conversion, if we know they're going to be doing something on mobile, we can start tracking those engagement more so than we can on other kind of mediums like magazine or TV. And there's more real-time action that we can measure. So some examples, and I'll kind of touch on this again later on today in another session and at the end of this, We can look at site traffic, we can look at store visits, app downloads, phone calls. We can start building that in and start to actually put a picture around what's mobile worth to us. So now we know about this change in behaviour and people using their mobile phones. How can we take advantage of the change? Well, the opportunities that are presented to you really are to try and lower some of the CPA costs for your sale or lead, increase the number of leads or sales, and build a better brand experience for your customer. So one of the things that we've been used to doing, and I'm going to kind of contradict this later on with something, but in the main, mobile traffic is cheaper than desktop traffic. So you pay less for the same position. So here you can see an example, position 2.3, it's 20p cheaper to be in the same position on a desktop than it is to be in a mobile. So you can bid lower and be in the same position, and there's more people searching on mobile. So that's a good way to kind of bring down your cost of traffic. If you provide a good experience on mobile, you're going to get good conversion. The conversion rates tend to be higher. But if you don't, you're going to suffer the reverse of that, and you're not going to get any kind of conversions. Now, you'll see this little spike here in April, end of April. Anyone know what that was, that spike? From the left. Mobilegeddon, it was termed Google's update on sites that are not mobile friendly. So they're going to decide sites that aren't mobile friendly, they're not going to rank them as high in the Google search results. And you can see there a spike in both people looking at mobile websites and looking at Mobilegeddon. And people, that was a kind of a standpoint for them to think, okay, well now I need to change my site. Google are going to affect my rankings, I need to do that. And that's going to be from the kind of SEO and natural listings. But you can see that kind of people think, okay, I need to do something on mobile. On the left-hand side is an example of if you go on something on Google Webmaster Tools, if you have that set up, it will tell you how many pages you've got a problem on mobile on. And it's something you need to start really being aware of and thinking about, okay, well, what do I do? If you go responsive, and being responsive means that your website works across all devices, tablet, desktop, mobile. Remember, there's lots of different sizes of mobile as well. You'll find that you'll be able to generate more leads because your conversion rate is going to be better. More people are going to take action because the site's going to function how it should on all devices. And that's really the first thing. If you haven't done that, that's something you really need to start thinking about doing as soon as possible. And it's a good time to do it, to think about redesigning, rebranding, kind of bringing everything up to date. And again, we'll come on to a bit more later. So if you can't build a whole site and make it responsive, well, think about a dedicated landing page. So this is something, example of our own page. And you want everybody to be able to take action with their thumb. You can imagine they've got their smartphone, and they're using their thumb to navigate around it. So you want them to be able to take all actions just through their kind of thumb on there. And you can see here there's an example of ours. And then we have claim your free push audit. If you click that with your thumb, it'll take you to the bottom of the page and fill in the form. So it doesn't even load another page. It just takes you straight to the bottom to fill that in. And when we did this, we saw our conversion rate jump from, I think, 4% to 8% once we introduced this as a metric. So how can you increase the volume of leads? So we know that more people are searching for how-to phrases. So how to become model. And you can see here that the first listing in the organic listing, which is kind of this one here, is a WikiHow page, an information-based result. So you've got people advertising at the top, and at the bottom you have a WikiHow page. So how to become a model. And if someone's searching for a how-to phrase, they're probably not ready to take an action or convert or turn into a lead. What they're looking for is information. They're more likely to go in those natural listings. Now, if they go in those natural listings, you either have to have an SEO program, or you have to put an ad up and write a page up for it. But what you can do is you can look at those sites that are already listed and actually look at those sites which allow you to run adverts on. So here's an example. That WikiHow page, which is that first page, they have that ad spot at the bottom there, which allows you to run an advert. And you can do that quickly and get up and running. So you can identify sites that are appearing for these how-to searches or these research phrases. What you'll see here is an example of a customer. It doesn't matter who it is, it's just to show you that by using display and by using mobile, you can see the number of leads that are coming in compared to desktop. So you're looking at a campaign there which got 696 conversions on mobile compared to 36 on desktop. Because there's more of this conversational type search on mobile, you're able to delve into a whole new audience of people that are looking for information. And if they're reading information on another site that's already written information on the how-to, and they read it and think, oh yeah, actually I might be interested in taking action, and your ad is gearing them towards action, you're kind of utilizing other people's content that's already written. Content's a big challenge for a lot of businesses, to write a lot of content, to keep writing new content. If you can do it yourself, even better, but there's a way to leverage other people's content. So how can we use display? So a lot of what I talked about there is really using display campaigns to generate kind of more leads. So how can we use display to penetrate mobile? I'm going to try and put a video on here for a second. Might need Stephen's help, I think, yeah.
This is you. You're a business owner. This is your website. These are your customers. These are all the people who aren't your customers yet. This is how you can connect with all those future customers. The Google Display Network. This is where you get started. Google AdWords. Here's the ad you created for free with Google AdWords. Here's your ad on a website Google found that lots of photographers like to visit. And these are all the websites in the Google Display Network that are related to your business that your ad can also show on. This is an amateur photographer reading his favorite photo site, seeing your ad and clicking on it to visit your website. These are all the other photography fans reading their own favorite websites and seeing and clicking on your ad. And these are the cameras they're buying from your website. That's a good way to reach new customers. That's the Google Display Network.
So hopefully that gives you a bit of a background of what the display network is and how it works. I'll just go into some specifics of the actual campaigns themselves. So you can run it across 30 different languages. You can reach 90% of all internet users, and that's virtually worldwide. There's 100 plus countries to target. So you could just target a region in the UK, the whole of the UK, England, Scotland, Wales, or in fact lots of other countries as well. You can run adverts on other sites. We can have video ad, you can have an image ad, a text ad, or ads on mobile. So lots of different methods to try the display campaigns. And in various industries, some work better than others. And really our targeting is done through keywords, placements, topics, interest categories, mobile apps, and demographics. So these are all the different metrics we can use to really hone in on who we want to target properly. These are some new audiences that Google have released which are really, really useful. So the first one here is a custom affinity audience. So let's say that I was selling golf equipment and I wanted to find an audience, an affinity audience. That might be people who like golf equipment or look for golf equipment are also most likely to go on holiday rental websites, for example. Yeah? And what you can do then is say, right, okay, I'm going to go and target males of a certain age who are visiting holiday apartment rental sites because we know that that's been tagged as an affinity audience for people who like golf equipment. And Google can help us find these affinity audiences for your particular industry. So that's something we can do and look at. And what you can find is that if other advertisers aren't doing it, the cost can be a lot lower to go for an affinity audience than the main category of golf equipment itself. What you can also do is look at an in-market audience. So Google here have tagged people who are at this particular moment or in the last few days are actually looking for golf equipment. They've clicked on a golf equipment ad, not your ad, other people's ads. They've been on a site that's got products on golf equipment. And then what you can do is refine that by picking actual keywords and then choosing your demographics again. So really honing in on people who are showing an active interest. And then you can have different creatives then for the affinity audience and the in-market audience. And there's in-market audiences now for a lot of industries. You can also advertise on Gmail, something called Google Sponsored Promotions. It's available to us at the moment via the Google account team. And it's an ad that shows up in personal Gmail boxes. I'm just trying to explain it a little bit better. So you've probably seen these ads on the right-hand side, which is broadly linked on the content that's in your email. And if it sees some keywords in your content, it puts an ad that it thinks is relevant to it. But these positions here, we've got these three sponsored promotion ads at the top, bottom, and on the right. This is what we call a GSP ad. You get three types of ads: image, multi-product and single promotion. So this is an example of a single promotion. Want to be model, registration open, hit start your career. Nice simple single promotion. You could run a popularity contest on your favourite push monster, which is Steve, Ricky or Charlie. Zuru did this slide, by the way. It's really working well as a new powerful traffic source. So here's an example of a campaign where the cost per click is 20% of our average CPC in the campaign, and the CPA, so the cost, the cost per lead is £3.85 compared to £6.45. So it's 50% lower by running these kind of GSP campaigns. And it's something that we're seeing that potentially could work really well. You can also target mobile apps. So Flappy Bird, which some of you may remember as last year's kind of most famous app. At the top there, you'll see an example of an ad that could be running. So you can have your ads on top of mobiles. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're playing any games or you're on an app and you see those ads, quite a lot of the time you're trying to actually get rid of it, but they do count as clicks. So what we've seen is a kind of waste of money with these ads in irrelevant apps. So quite a lot of the time we do a lot to exclude these apps and really take them out of the campaigns rather than leave them running. And we have big lists of these apps that we know don't convert particularly well, especially things, the gaming ones where people are, kind of in the heat of the moment doing lots of things. We really don't want to have too much traffic on those. But if you do a specific app campaign, so you find apps which are really relevant to your industry and business, and it's something that's got good content on the app, and they're actually might take action from it, we're seeing some great results here. And again, you can see that we're getting lots of conversions, 950 from this mobile app targeted. It's a 35% drop in the cost per lead, and the conversion rate should be CPAs lower as well. How can we overcome the key challenges? This is what it used to be like. So this is kind of going back. This used to be very simple. Consumers have one device, they have their laptop, they make a search, they might come back a day later, a few hours later, and they take an action and they convert. Very easy for us to work out what the conversion rate is and what the cost per order is. So nice and simple. That's what agencies like ourselves, we prided ourselves on being able to tell you, you spent this, it's how many leads you've had, this is how much it cost. And AdWords would report it back to us, and everyone was happy. But we have an inconvenient truth. 65% of decisions are started on a mobile and ending up somewhere else. Starting on a mobile, we're going to our tablet, desktop, Mac. We're making a phone call, we're going in a store. How can we measure that? Because the problem you've got, if I go on an AdWords campaign and I click on an ad, and then I end up on the site of my mobile, and then I go back directly to a site, there's no way to know that I originally came from a mobile ad. So the stats are going to show that your mobile campaign potentially didn't work well. So the metric we have of that, really what we call in-device conversion rate, is really not valid anymore. We can't use that metric. Or we can, but it's not going to look quite right because the visits from mobile are not going to be accurate. And if we look at desktop over time, what we can see as the years ago passing by, desktop conversion rate seems to be performing better. So the conversion rates are increasing, but the transaction share is going down. So those that come onto desktop are converting better, but the actual share has gone down because we're getting a few more transactions on other devices. The other thing we can see is that the desktop visitors are actually spending less time. The average page views are going down, the session duration, so the time they're spending is going down, and there's more new users coming. So it doesn't stack up. How can the conversion rate be going up and they're spending less time? And they're doing that because of their activity on other devices. So pre-device, whether it's mobile, whether it's tablet, and they're coming onto desktop to finish off their action. And where everyone really needs to understand that is what's happening and going to continue to happen and become more and more. And you have to really think about how do we pull that apart. So just to summarize really on in-device, it's really misleading. So if you look at that top graph at the top there, you'll see that the desktop conversion rate's gone up 0.28%, tablet's gone up 0.02%, but mobile's gone down by 0.36%. So those are the metrics that we've got at the moment that we would be looking at and you would see. And from that, we would all assume that mobile's not working well. Let's just bid lower. And that's what we've been doing as an agency. That's what our customers have been saying. Well, let's just bid a bit lower. We'll maintain that position because it's a lower price. We'll maintain the position, but it's not doing as well. Let's focus a bit more on desktop. But then we're going to lose out on that, the pre-activity before the conversion. If we do what's called a kind of multi-device conversion rate by taking all sessions and working out the conversion rate, you'll see that changes a little bit, and that the desktop has actually gone down, tablet's gone down, but mobile's gone up. So these are the metrics that we need to start working to. Now we've got this available in a spreadsheet format. So what we're trying to do is for our existing customers, really look at that and start bringing some of this data to you and say, well, okay, look, this is what we can see from AdWords, but actually the cross-device conversion rate, this is what we can see, and start giving you a truer picture of what's happening on mobile. The other thing we can see is that mobile sessions are big in the morning, and there's more conversions later on. And mobile goes down, but there's more conversions later on. So that activity of people in the morning looking at things as they're traveling, whilst they're at work, could be Saturday, Sundays, in the evenings when the conversion is happening on another device. And this is data that Google's pulled together, and we can see supporting evidence of that as well. So can we estimate cross-device? So these are some estimates of different industries and the increase in conversion rate if you took cross-device into account. So entertainment would be up 12%, travel 8%, technology 8%, retail 7%, local 2%. So these are, broad kind of indications. Well, actually, cross-device is having an impact. So what I can't see, my conversion rate would actually be this much higher from my campaigns because of cross-device. Now, we looked at some travel customers, and we can see from cross-device about a 4% increase. And how we can measure that to some extent is using Google's estimated cross-device conversion, which is now in AdWords. And what that does is it takes into account somebody who's logged into their Android phone, logged into Gmail, and that they'll be able to tag someone as going on their phone, then coming back onto their device if they're logged in on both and making the conversion and pulling that together. And it will only show in AdWords if they're 95% confident that data's correct. So that metric's something we're going to be probably reporting back on as time moves on as well. So what can we do with mobile? We need to introduce some things that we can start measuring as well as the cross-device, because that's still not going to be as accurate as we want it. We can measure calls. So you can see there in the ads at the top, you've got these kind of call buttons. We can measure how many times people click that and use that as a metric to say, well, okay, we might not have conversions, but we've got this many calls from there. On top of that, location extensions. So if someone's putting in get directions and they're clicking that and they're able to find directions to your store if you've got a bricks and mortar business, we should be measuring that as a point of a conversion. It might be a secondary point, but we've got something. Site links, they could be dedicated site links. So they could be site links that are dedicated to, let's say, a specific how to order on mobile or download your mobile report. And start changing those so they're really more mobile-centric. If you have apps, we could do app downloads as well and really can bring those into play as well. You need to be strong on your brand all the time. If people are going to switch from a mobile to a desktop, it's very important that your brand position is always number one. If you're not number one, potentially your customers will be and can take away that click, sow a bit of doubt. So if I've searched in this example for a Lake District cottage on my mobile and I see a cottage I like and I want to go to Lakes Cottage Holiday, I might put in Lakes Cottage Holiday into Google. Now, if I didn't advertise and wasn't in top position, Cumbrian cottages who are underneath would appear above my organic listing. And quite often we do hear a lot of resistance to brand. Well, I'm in the first position in natural search. I don't really want to advertise on my brand. Well, you need to, because people are switching devices now, and it doesn't mean that they're going to automatically go to your site if somebody else is above you. And that applies for mobile as well. On mobile, you've really only got one or two positions. So if you bid slightly lower, a competitor will come above you again in that space. So you want to make sure for your brand, you're always in the top position to protect yourself and make the most of that kind of cross-device that's happening. So what can you do as a business to try and help us with the data and yourselves understand more about mobile? So what you could do is look at a conversion point, decide what the conversion point is on mobile. So this is a comparison site, and get a free quote is what we're looking to get here. This is the main thing that we want to get, is to get a free quote. Now the end transaction is actually to sign up for something, to actually make a booking. but they very rarely happen on mobile compared to desktop. But there's a lot of quotes happening. So we need to decide, okay, well, we're going to measure everything by quotes on here, and we're going to get the quote. If we get the quote, we get an email address as well. Then what we can do is put a unique voucher code in the email and use other mediums like your phone to even send it back. Ideally, in this case, you'd probably want to have that code in the text message as well. Now, imagine if you could get the code, have that tracked in a CRM system as knowing that code was generated from a mobile search. And then you should be able to get a report back to say, well, right, okay, this code's been used on mobile, and you can attribute now a sale to your mobile. Now, that's not something really that we can do. It's going to be something that's going to happen from your CRM system. If anybody's using Infusionsoft, we're working with one of the kind of senior partners with Infusionsoft who's a real expert on this, and he's looking at a way to get this implemented. So if anybody does use Infusionsoft and you want to talk about this, potentially there's a way for us to work together to pilot something, because no one really in the industry at all has really found a solution to cross-device. So we're putting all these things together and saying we're going to have a bit of trust, but actually if we could really tie it in, we could use things like codes to really bring in codes and email addresses to really hone in and go, well, these are originally from mobile, we can now attribute a lifetime value. Even if it's the first sale, we can attribute the lifetime value as well. You can use things like overlays, and again, in the afternoon session, I'll touch a bit more on this for something called softer conversions. So if you have an overlay on a mobile, you can again be another code, another way to get somebody to say, well, they're not going to take full action, but if they sign up for something and get the email or code, again, we can start tracking them. And it could be that they could then take that code in store. And then you could have a metric in store to measure how many people have bought that in store as well. So there's lots of things that I guess as an agency and you yourselves and your businesses need to start thinking about, to be creative about thinking about what can we do on mobile? What can we do to help our consumers and understand it more ourselves? Call tracking, so we can measure how many calls. We can also have the calls recorded. You can go another level and have the calls recorded, and when the person you've spoken to on the phone's put the phone down, it'll ask you to rate the call as a sale or a lead and put a value behind it. So if every time you took a call and it was a good lead and there was a value behind it, you could say, well, taking that call, that's a £50 sale. You could actually just put that in your phone, and then it would track everything back. That was a mobile campaign, mobile calls, and this is how much revenue attributed from it. And again, a lot of these are processes that are going to have to be brought into your business, but they're things that need to be done for us to measure properly. Other ways we can think about mobile, barbecuing. As soon as there's a bit of sunshine, everybody wants to go out and go buy a barbecue because the one they got from last year has been left outside and is all rusted. So if we know the weather's going to be hot or cold, we should be able to automatically bid higher or lower for our campaigns, rather than going, oh, it's hot, so let's go and change our campaigns. Because people are going to be more in the moment. People are going to be more in the moment about thinking about something with their phones and going, right, I'm going to go and look for a barbecue. So if we know that the weather's not going to be good for the next 5 or 6 days, we might say, well, let's decrease our bids. And we can just do that automatically. Take a weather feed and say, well, okay, set thresholds. If temperature falls below this, bid lower. Temperature's going to go up over the next 5 days, start bidding higher. And I think of any external data source, pretty much, as long as there's a feed out there, we can dial into it. So we can do it things on conversion rates. We've got a Forex company here. Potentially we can do that. Find thresholds and think, well, if it hits this, just start bidding more and start bidding more. So taking away that kind of manual process of AdWords a little bit and really trying to respond. Because if something happens, people are going to be on their mobile responding to that change very quickly. So we, and that's us and you, need to rethink our metrics, the metrics that we're measuring, the experience that we're providing our customers, and the communication on the site as well. What are consumers expecting, and what communication do we want to give them? You want to start thinking about a mobile phase strategy and really being clear about to yourselves what strategy you're on. So phase 1 is just having a mobile presence. Stage 2 is optimizing for mobile. Stage 3 will properly attribute for mobile. And this is a good chart to kind of summarize, what each phase is. So first one would just be opting into mobile, having an optimized landing page, having some creative and basic mobile reporting, and then moving to phase 2, we start having call to action extensions that we're measuring. We've got mobile customized extensions, and we've got smaller conversions reporting. And the third one would be really then taking it to the next level, that integration into your CRM, having mobile remarketing campaigns, A/B testing on mobile. And I think it's important that anybody who's working with us at the moment, that we're communicating to you where we think you are in this phase. Okay, look, your mobile strategy is at phase 1. Let's start here and move you to these, because it is more complex, it is more challenging. There's a lot more to think about and do. So we need to kind of look at it in a phased approach. So the future. You've got the iWatch, and you've got Pebble Watch. Anyone heard of Pebble Watch? Oh, someone's wearing one. So they were actually before iWatch. So they've got a watch that works with your iPhone, and something called Kickstarter. I don't know if any of you've been on Kickstarter. It's a great site to go on, even just to go and have a look at products people are getting funding for. So rather than going to banks or trying to get funding, they put products. I'm going to build this. Will you give me some money to build it, and you can have one? So they raised $18 million for a Pebble Watch, for different versions of their Pebble Watch, and they've got loads of different versions happening now. And really, an industry was born just like that. Whilst you might be waiting in the past for years and years for an industry to be born, this is born very quickly, because people are demanding it. People are using their phones saying, no, I want this phone. I want this watch to work with my phone. I like it and I want it. And I wonder if we're heading back to the Matrix, finally. So devices together that make us the connected computer. It could be the start of proper artificial intelligence. And I read this yesterday. Someone reviewed their new iWatch, and finished off with this line: "Resistance is futile only because the wearable revolution will be far better than we ever imagined." And it's hard to imagine now how that's going to be linked up. I read some reports the other day of having wearable tech which will actually tell you, look, you're probably about to have a heart attack. You need to go. You need to go to the hospital. And there's all kinds of things. And you think you can see that the wearable, you can see how fitness is coming in. People are going to be monitoring their blood pressure and all this, all these other things, and how far they've walked. It's already there, and that adoption period is happening, and the adoption periods are speeding it up. Before, where it would take 5 or 10 years, it's a few years, and that's a whole set of new challenges of how people are going to be using their watch and their iPhone, and how we're going to measure that. But you can imagine people, I think, essentially just picking up their hand, talking in there, doing a voice search, and then getting a result back to them either on their phone, or maybe there'll be a new version of Google Glass or that someone else has invented that works a little bit better. So and that might only be 2 years, might only be 3 or 4 years, but it's coming, and it's important that we continue to adopt to change together.